From the moment my husband suggested that his sister move in with us, I felt an icy chill run down my spine. It wasn't intuition, it was almost a premonition. I was 7 months pregnant. My feet were so swollen that they barely fit into my sandals. My back was aching in a way that only those who have carried a belly that size can understand. And my head was racing, trying to organize everything. The baby's room, the doctor's appointments, the leave paperwork, the trousseau that was still incomplete. The last thing I needed was another person taking up space in our home, which was already small, cramped and full of boxes of diapers and clothes. But he insisted. He said that she was in a difficult situation, that she had lost her apartment because the rent had gone up too much. He told me a sad story, with all the details calculated to make me look like a monster if I said no. A perfect narrative of a victim of life. And, as always, I gave in because I always give in. I gave in believing that it would be temporary, just a few months, enough time for her to reorganize and move on. She arrived 2 days later, bringing half a dozen clothes thrown into an old suitcase, a laptop, and the promise that she would help out around the house, that she wouldn't be a burden, that she was just waiting for life to get back on track. The words came too easily from her mouth, and for the first few days I tried to believe it, but the red flags appeared so quickly that it seemed as if they were waiting for the door to close behind her before they started jumping out at me. In the first week, she had already transformed the living room into her private bedroom, spreading clothes, books, makeup, threads, glasses, food containers, everything there in our only common space, claiming that the guest room was too small, stuffy, windowless, impossible to use. I swallowed dry. I even took items from the baby's trousseau out of the room to accommodate her better, thinking that if I was understanding, things would settle down, silly me. What followed was a succession of small acts of disrespect, accumulating day after day until they became unbearable. She spent the whole day lying on the sofa, in her pajamas, with her cell phone in her hand, binging on series or laughing at videos on TikTok, while I, pregnant, with nausea, pain, insomnia, was still making dinner every day, washing dishes. One night, exhausted, I sat up in bed with difficulty and vented my frustration to my husband. I told him that she wasn't looking for a job, that she didn't seem to be trying to change her life, that her presence was becoming a burden. She's depressed. She needs time to recover, give her a break, love, she's been through a lot. And I once again swallowed the pain, the tiredness, and let it pass. But time passed, and nothing changed. The weeks turned into months. She even stopped pretending to be looking for a job. When I suggested that she help with something, I'd get a roll of the eyes and an ironic phrase. I'm just trying to survive, as if I were living in a spa, as if carrying a baby inside. Me, with all the pain, deprivation, and anxiety in the world, was an unquestionable privilege. Worse, she would make venomous comments, the kind that come disguised as jokes, about how lucky I was to have a husband who supported me, as if I was on vacation, as if pregnancy was a luxury, and not a daily physical and emotional burden. Spoke to my husband again. I thought that this time he would see my side, that he would recognize my effort, that he would understand that it was destroying me little by little. But he gave me a bucket of cold water. What do you want me to do? Throw her out? As if that were it? As if I were the villain, the evil stepmother who wanted to destroy poor Cinderella. I just wanted peace. I just wanted respect. I just wanted a home to welcome my child with dignity. Then the baby was born. And for a brief moment, I thought everything was going to change. Holding my son for the first time gave me a joy that words can't reach. For an instant, it was as if everything made sense. But it was short-lived. The first week at home, the baby cried, like every newborn. And one early morning, at 2 a.m, we heard furious knocks on the bedroom door. It was her, shouting, "Can't you shut that child up? Some of us have to work tomorrow." I stayed silent because I didn't even have the energy to answer. Work? She didn't work. She's never worked since she set foot in there. I turned my attention to my son and tried to calm him down, ignoring the absurdity of the situation. Every time the baby cried, she hissed, slammed doors, made venomous comments like, "What generous parents you are, huh?" Until one day she asked for a family meeting. said that the baby's constant crying was affecting her mental health, that she couldn't sleep, couldn't think, was on the verge of a breakdown, and instead of leaving, she suggested that me, with a newborn, leave the house so she could have some peace. At that moment, with my baby on my lap, looking into his eyes, I understood that if I didn't do something, no one else would. There, in that instant, I decided that I wasn't going to allow it anymore, not for me, but for him. He deserved a strong mother, a safe home, a peaceful environment. If she couldn't respect the presence of a baby, then she didn't deserve to be under the same roof as him. And if my husband couldn't see that, then he could leave too. The next morning, exhausted after another sleepless night, I called my husband and was blunt. Either she left or they both left. He tried to compromise. I'll talk to her. But I already knew where this was going. I went into the living room, found her lying down as usual, and told her that her idea of me moving out was pathetic, but that my idea of her leaving was excellent. She was offended. She accused me of having no heart, of being cruel, of not understanding other people's suffering. I laughed. I said that. If I found it hard to sleep with a baby crying, on the bench in the square, it would be even worse. She exploded. She called my husband, who came in with the same face as always, asking to calm things down. I gave the ultimatum right there. Either he chose us, or he could leave with her, and faced with the pressure, he finally gave in. She left huffing and puffing, slamming the door, leaving half her things behind. That night, even waking up every hour with my son, I slept like I hadn't slept for months, because there was no longer anyone blaming me for being a mother. There was no longer anyone making me feel wrong for wanting peace in my own home. But the peace was short-lived. A week later, she showed up at my door, again, with a suitcase in her hand and my husband at her side, looking like a sorry dog. He said that she had nowhere to go, and that now that the baby was crying less, maybe she could try again, just for a little while. I almost laughed. I shut the door in both their faces without saying a word. I called my in-laws. When they arrived, the father-in-law looked at his son and let out, "Have you gone crazy?" My sister-in-law tried to start theatrics, but my mother-in-law was direct. "Shut up before I shut you up." Shortly afterwards, my father arrived and listened calmly to the whole story. At the end, he looked at my husband and said, "If you love your sister so much, go and live with her and leave your wife alone." I almost cried with relief, pride, and gratitude. My father-in-law helped pack my husband's things. He tried to resist. He knelt down. He cried. He begged. But it was too late. I threw everything in the garden and changed the lock. Today, months later, the divorce is finalized. I've got a job, I've reorganized my life, and my ex-husband, well, he finally realized that his sister wasn't so helpless. She got a job, rented a room, and disappeared. And he was left exactly as he chose. No house, no wife, no child, and no excuse. Me, I'm here, rocking my baby on my lap, looking at him, with the certainty that I'll never let anyone make me feel small in my own home again.